Jay, that's strangely close to Daniel Jones from the Giants. Daniel, is that you? Beat the Chiefs. Show me. If the Broncos and Russell Wilson can show me that they can beat the Chiefs, then I will start believing.
The crowd up. And so are this defense, and Kansas City won't snap the ball again. The Denver Broncos have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs.
David Montgomery on the Lions, former Bear, gonna make this his revenge game for sure. David Montgomery gets the touchdown that ices the game. No! And there's a flag. There's flag. There's flag. There's flag. There's flag. Snap. Hold. Kick.
Denver wins! Denver wins! Let's go!
They open. No!
What happened? Oh shit.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the only football podcast. Tonight, we are recapping week 1 of the NFL season 2024. Unfortunately, there's only 17 more weeks of football left. I'm just fucking around. Let's not talk about that yet. But we are going to recap all the games starting from Friday Night Football all the way to last night, Monday Night Football. And of course, we're going to end it off with the Chives with Kyle. Let's get it. America is football. Football is America.
Football is America. If you don't like it, you can kiss your candy ass for the moment in time. I don't give a damn. Oh my god.
No.
You loved it.
30 to 27. Chiefs win. Chiefs win 30 to 20. Woo!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our first recap of the 2024 NFL season.
Let's go.
It's been a pretty wild week 1. As it always is, there's some surprises. There's some things that you're not expecting. First and foremost, I made a post on my X that I went and had a surgery. I want everyone to know that I'm good. I was experiencing, I'm not on the pup list. I was experiencing some jaw pain. When I was 18, I got my jaw broken on both sides of my face. And sometimes my plates mess with me a little bit, but I could tell it was more than usual. So I went to the hospital and one of my plates was getting infected. So they opened up my jaw, and I'm probably going to get them removed next week. So a little bit swollen, but I'm good to go. They told me that talking a lot may irritate it. So I'm going to be running a podcast, taking the doctor's advice and doing the opposite.
You guys want to talk about football toughness? This man right here. This man is tougher.
I can't laugh.
This man is tougher than CMC right now. I don't want to hear from anybody. CMC, I'm on the sideline. I got a calf strain. And Kyle over here, straight out of surgery, is going to talk to you guys, recapping NFL Week 1. I don't care what anybody says. That's grit. That's grit right there.
All right. That's like borderline as funny as you can be without me having to walk out of the room. So...
Kyle's about to fucking just
right. Ow, ow. All right. So the first game of the season was one of the best, and that was the Ravens game. And we're not going to talk about that game. Go Wisconsin. We're not going to talk about that game because we kind of talked about it already. But the second game of the season was really good too, and that was the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Green Bay Packers. And man, was that a really good game? I mean, you had the storylines, let me just start by saying the field was not good.
The field sucked, and a lot of what I heard was, how is the NFL going to be this multi-billion-dollar corporation and send its players to go play on this field. Like I get it. They don't care about their safety or their health, but Jesus Christ, do something about that field, man.
Yeah, and it's like we can't even blame it on, oh, the NFL, they go to Brazil because they do this in America too. Remember the Super Bowl?
True. True.
They
Yes.
just like
Yes.
for some reason this happens and it's unexcusable. Like you said, billion
Mm-hmm.
dollar industry, but luckily there was no injuries that appear to happen because of the field. However, Jordan Love, man, a
Yeah.
scary injury.
Yes.
I posted a short on this channel that wasn't like, oh, let me play into these emotions for a good
Mm-hmm.
moment. That was real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was like a young player in the Packers' entire season is
Mm-hmm.
dangling in the balance of what is going on right now
Mm-hmm.
with Jordan Love, who appeared to suffer a lower body injury. We didn't have any information. He did get up, but it took two people to get him off the sideline. And then the Packers
Yeah.
said, hey, we'll do an MRI when we get back to Wisconsin, which was a 9-hour flight.
Mm-hmm.
So people were literally tracking the Packers flight back to Wisconsin. Like Tom Grassi
Yeah.
posted it on Twitter because it was like their whole season was dangling in the balance of what is going to come from that MRI when he got back.
Mm-hmm.
Then we heard that a torn MCL was ruled out, or an ACL. The ACL was intact. They also ruled out a sprain, ankle sprain. So we were like, okay, well, what is it then? And it
Mm-hmm.
turns out to be a sprain. He's going to miss maybe 4 weeks. So that's huge news for the
Yeah.
Packers.
Yeah. And it sucked that it happens at the end, pretty much damn near at the end of the game. I was watching that. I had some friends over. I wasn't streaming that game. Obviously, you guys caught it here with Kyle, but we were watching it at down in Seattle. We were hanging out, and I saw it. And when that play happened, I was like, "Oh no!" Because at first I thought, "Okay, he's down. He's gonna get up." Rodgers has done this a lot. I feel like Love's gonna be in the same boat where they look injured for those first, I don't know, 35 seconds or so, and then they get up and then they end the game. And unfortunately, that is not what happened. Luckily, like you said, I think the recovery time is 3 to 6 weeks. From what I read today was that he will, it's looking like he will be back sooner than later. So it may not be the full 6 week. It may be the 3 weeks. It may be 4 weeks. Either way, Jordan Love, at least from what I read, per reports, is going to come back sooner than later. But this game was really damn good.
Yeah.
The Packers kind of continued, for the most part, what they did at the end of last season into the playoffs against the Cowboys. Jordan Love looked good. He had an interception, but he still looked good passing the ball. He had 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. One of those touchdowns being to Jaden Reed, and then the other one to Christian Watson. Almost immediately, too. Like, they started the game off throwing the ball downfield. Jordan Love looked, again, like he did not miss a beat. And I'm going to give them their credit. I'm a Bears fan, but I'm going to give them their credit. So regardless, right? Like, they did really, really well. What I will say is the Eagles look pretty damn scary. They actually look pretty damn good on the offense. The defense still probably needs a little bit of work. And I would probably say that for both of these teams, both the Packers and the Eagles, but the Eagles look good. Jalen Hurts, 278 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 2 interceptions. But most importantly, Saquon Barkley. Bill, cover your ears, because Saquon Barkley, game one, 3 touchdowns for the Philadelphia Eagles. I was about to say Giants there. I did not, but I was about to say Giants. What a first game for Saquon Barkley with the Eagles, and he was dominating. He was catching the ball for a touchdown. He was rushing the ball for touchdowns. A.J. Brown had a touchdown. This offense is looking so much better under Kellen Moore than whatever the fuck happened last season, the latter half of last season. I know you mentioned it too, Kyle, like, hey, they got Kellen Moore, right? Like, and I was a little bit skeptical. I was like, he got kicked out of Dallas. He was with the Chargers, obviously. So I was a little skeptical, but they did really, really well on the offensive side of the ball. They look like
Um, I can't hear you right now, but let's see while Rick gets that situated. He's talking about Saquon Barkley and how good he looked in his debut with the Eagles. He racked up 132 yards from scrimmage, and he had he had 3 touchdowns in
Check,
his
check.
first game. There you go, Rick.
Okay. But yeah, 3 touchdowns. This offense looks scary. They look like they can be a legitimate Super Bowl contender, and that's what I was saying there at the end.
Yeah, dude. Looked really, really good. For the Packers, 0-1 is not the worst thing in the world because Jordan Love is going to be healthy. And it
Mm-hmm.
kind of puts things into perspective. Like, you feel like the loss is the worst thing ever. And then Jordan Love goes down in the last play of the game. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
ooh, this is
Yeah.
way worse than losing this game. So,
Yeah. And they're going with
um,
Malik Willis from what I hear. Tannehill is still available, but Malik Willis does seem to be the guy they're going with. I feel like they're going to regret that in about 4 weeks.
yeah. And Jaden Reed is he's going to be I thought he was going to be the number one this year. They
Mm-hmm.
kept talking about how they didn't have a number one receiver in Green Bay, and I was like, look, Jordan Love, we say what the final 7 weeks of the season last year, he kicked it into gear, and
Mm-hmm.
those final 7 games, Jaden Reed had 15 or more fantasy points. So
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
was going to be what I thought Jaden Reed kind of coming into this Deebo Samuel role,
Mm-hmm.
and I expected him to be really good. And right off the bat, you saw how good he was. He had 30 fantasy points in this game. So I think hopefully Jordan Love can get back pretty quick, but Malik Willis, not a good backup. I think the Packers are going to lose their games that they don't have Jordan Love in pretty much.
Yeah, and Jaden Reed, 4 receptions, 138 yards, 1 touchdown, 6 targets. I mean, those those are some crazy stats right there, man.
And our Battle of Florida comes next. The Miami Dolphins and the Jacksonville Jaguars. I actually had the Jaguars winning this game. You had the Dolphins. It looked like at one point the Jags were going to win it. I think they were up 17-3.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tyreek Hill got an 80-yard touchdown reception. By the way, Tyreek Hill arrested before the game.
Yeah.
The whole interaction was just totally unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it. I feel like I'm the only one with an opinion that makes sense. Where
Mm-hmm.
you got people are like Tyreek Hill was treated unfairly, and you have people are like Tyreek Hill wasn't complying. I think this was a very unfortunately, a very natural interaction between cops that aren't trained enough to de-escalate situations where he did roll his window up
Mm-hmm.
and he was like not following the basic instructions. But then again, it was like the cop was not de-escalating. It was seems like they were
Yeah.
getting into kind of a pissing contest with each other,
Mm-hmm.
and you would think that they would be trained to not do that. And first and
Mm-hmm.
foremost, it's like it's fucking Tyreek Hill. People aren't gonna
Yeah.
say like they're not gonna say that, but if you're a cop and you're outside of the Dolphins stadium, it's like just write him the ticket and move on. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole thing is like what you thought he had a weapon because he had tinted windows. It's like it's Tyreek
Mm-hmm.
Hill. I
Yeah.
mean, I thought that whole thing was just kind of weird, and I think it could have been avoided on
Mm-hmm.
Tyreek's part and by the police officer's part. And it wasn't on either side. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you got to see the body cam of that.
Yeah, I saw most of it. I saw that, or at least I thought I heard that one of the cops said, "Hey, that's Tyreek Hill." I thought I heard that. I may be wrong. I thought I heard that, but the whole interaction, like you said, like it was weird, man. It was just kind of like a pissing contest, like you said. It's like they brought him out of the car, and it apparently they pulled him over for reckless driving, and so I get that. I get pulling somebody over for that. But to then, put him on the floor, and they're like, get down. And he's like, okay, I'm getting down. And they're like forcing him down. He's like, dude, I just had surgery on my knee. Calm down. Right. So
For
then
what? Like, why am I down here?
exactly what is the issue? right? Like reckless driving. Again, absolutely pull a guy over for that. No need to fucking put him in handcuffs on the ground. And Calais Campbell, his teammate,
He was detained.
he was also detained because he was also there, and he's like, "Hey man, what's going on?" And then you hear Tyreek Hill, call Drew," referring to Drew Rosenhaus, their agent. And again, that whole thing happened. He was handcuffed, sort of detained. I'm not entirely sure, like detained, whatever. But he was let go. He went and started the game. Before that game started, that same cop was put on administrative leave. So
Really?
that's how you know. Yeah, that's how you know the cop was in the wrong. Obviously, the footage is very clear. Yeah, on administrative leave, and it's like, yeah, that makes sense. So again, that whole situation is part of a bigger issue, but it sucks because it's Tyreek Hill. He's in a very expensive car. Yes, he's driving recklessly. No need to put him in handcuffs and handle it the way you did.
Yeah. And I am watching the interaction too, and I'm like cheering. I'm on Tyreek Hill's side. You know what I mean? Because I like Tyreek Hill, and I want to see him play, but more importantly, like I don't want anything bad to happen to him.
Exactly.
And he's like, don't knock on my window like that. And then he rolls his window up. I thought he rolled his window up because he thought the cop was going to go his way and write the ticket. Like, I know I've done that before where I assume I assume like the cop comes and talks to me. And then I assume at the end of our conversation, he's going to go back to his car to write the ticket. And then I'm on my own for 5 minutes. And I think that's when he rolled the window back up. So then the cop, I guess he was like, the police came out and they were like, well, he could have been grabbing a weapon because of the tint that he had. And it's just like, come on, outside the stadium. Like, this just seems like such a reach.
I was going to say it's a reach. Definitely a reach.
Yeah, it was definitely a reach. And I feel like there's so many like videos now out there of cool cops that would have handled this totally different. I feel like I would be a cool cop. Like,
I'd be too cool of a cop. I'd be like, I mean, it's only a little coke, whatever. It's not that big of a deal.
I don't know if I'd be that cool. I would just not even acknowledge the coke. I would be that kind of cool cop. I didn't see it.
I'd be like, as I'm leaving, I'd be like, you boys have a good time.
You guys have a good night, all right? No, but I was going to tell a story, but I literally can't on this podcast.
I was going to say, you should.
California.
Yeah.
So the Tyreek Hill goes out and he immediately, has an incredible performance. Tua throws for 336 yards. In Miami was finally kind of when they needed him. Tua was able to put together an 8-play, 31-yard drive in the final minutes. To secure their fourth straight consecutive, I guess that's what consecutive is, but fourth straight win at home or season opening win, not just at home, because last week they didn't play home till week 3. Ask me how I know.
70.
Wait, Rick just got a text.
Hold on. Yep. Devon Achane just rushed for another touchdown. I'm sorry.
I'm numb. I'm not even mad anymore. But yeah, I felt like Jacksonville. I thought there were some things that you like. Brian Thomas Jr. looks good. I felt like he was going to be good. I mean, he's 6'3" and he ran a 4.3. Like he's going to be good. I'm excited to see how that relationship, how that rapport kind of continues to develop throughout the year. I think Evan Ingram went down with an injury in this game.
Too,
he may be out for, I think, 4 weeks maybe with an ankle. So that kind of sucks. But ultimately, like if you're a Jags fan, you're like, why can't we win these games? It looks like at times Trevor Lawrence is just really good. And then sometimes the offense is just not clicking. But we got to keep in mind, even though we're ready for it to click now with Trevor Lawrence, it's been something new every year. It was this coach, and then it was this new coach, and then it was last year with injuries, and now it's Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas Jr. and Calvin Ridley's gone. It's like there's been really no consistency, but I do feel like this is the team now. Gabe Davis, Brian Thomas Jr., ETN. I thought Tank Bigsby looked really good. I feel like
Yeah.
this is the team that Trevor can actually make those steps that we're anticipating.
So I will disagree to an extent. Brian Thomas, I like him. Again, you said he looked really good. 4 catches, 47 yards, and a touchdown. Awesome start for a rookie, right? And obviously you got Trevor Lawrence throwing it to you, so even better. Gabe Davis again, Christian Kirk, like got paid a ridiculous contract, and like you never hear about him being a top receiver in the league. And it just seems like he literally reset the wide receiver market and never really did anything with it. So clearly they got Brian Thomas Jr. to step in and eventually become that wide receiver one. And it was a great game for him. I will say, I mean, losing this game in the way they did gives the defense kind of like a bad stink going into week 2 for the Jags. So it is a little rough for that defense going into week 2. But the offense, not bad. You mentioned Tank Bigsby. He had a really damn good game, 73 yards on 12 carries. Travis Etienne had the touchdown, 44 yards, and he brought in a couple catches too to add to that. So the thing is, was he the one who fumbled in the end zone? Was it Etienne? Yeah, one fumble loss, and that was at the goal line. Miami recovered. So bad fumble by ETN there, and then Miami was able to take advantage of that. You mentioned Tua, 338 yards. The only quarterback week 1 that went over 300 yards. The only one, which was insane. But they were able to, like you said, string those plays together there at the end, come away with the field goal for the win. It looked like Jacksonville had it early, but Miami came back.
Yeah, and this year I'm going to be doing something a little bonus for you guys. As you know, last year I subscribed to the annual membership for advanced analytics to these football games. So I'm going to give you just a couple metrics that stand out that aren't going to be on your, whatever recap website you're on. They're not going to be there. They're a little more in depth than that. Red zone scoring efficiency is the one I want to point out in this game.
Mm-hmm.
The Dolphins were 100% in red zone scoring efficiency. So they scored every time they went in the red zone. Jacksonville was 67%. So right away, I mean, that's what great offensive coaches do. They score in the red zone. It's something that Denver's been really struggling to do. So you just can't say enough about how difficult it is to do that, to get 100%. So good job for Mike McDaniels in that offense. And then third down efficiency. The Jaguars only converted on 20% of their third downs. The Dolphins were 47%. A major difference in the game was the Dolphins able to extend drives on third down, and the Jags just couldn't.
Yeah, the Jags could not. And bad day for Trevor. Better
days ahead. I'm excited about this next game because I thought Arizona was going to play a tough game, and they did. I had this game going into overtime, which it didn't quite get that good, but it could have. There was a chance late in the game that Arizona was going to drive down and win the game. Josh Allen threw for 2 touchdown passes in the second half. Overall, I thought this game said a lot about both teams. There was people that were like, oh, are the Bills going to be okay without Diggs and Stephon Diggs? And I remember my biggest bold statement about the Bills this offseason was Josh Allen's going to have his best season ever this year. And that's right. Without Diggs, without Gabe Davis, Josh Allen is going to distribute the ball more. And you're going to see just how great he is this year. I think he could win MVP this year. Ooh. And on the other side, I felt like Arizona was ready to compete, and they competed. Allen finished 18 for 23, 232 passing yards. He had 2 passing touchdowns. I would imagine what stuck out to you in this game is how good Arizona played.
I was going to say they looked pretty damn good. And, I didn't trust them because, look, my, my whole thing was like, I don't know, the Cardinals just don't sound like a good team. Um, but they did really well against the Bills team. Now, the Bills team is struggling on the defensive side, whether it is missing veterans, whether it is just them on the defensive side not performing well. Which, I mean, you can absolutely make an argument in this case. The Cardinals scored 28 points on this defense. The defense did not look good for the Buffalo Bills, and when you have a defensive head coach, you tend to have a pretty damn good defense, right? Like, because he knows the ins and outs of that defense. So it should be a bit of a better defense. I'm sure he is going to make sure to evaluate whatever talent he's got and try to do whatever he can, the Bills head coach, to make sure that the defense plays a little bit better. But you're right about Josh Allen, man. 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. He did it all again for the Bills. When we talk about when anybody says that the reason the Bills are a playoff team or have the potential of a playoff team because of Josh Allen, this is the game that we have to point to because he was doing everything. He had 232 yards passing with those 2 touchdowns. Rushing, 9 rushes, 39 yards, 2 touchdowns. James Cook only had 70 yards rushing. Josh Allen had half those yards on 9 rushes. So when we talk about Josh Allen literally putting the team on his back, this is the game week 1 that we are talking about. No team wants to start 0-1, but the Bills especially do not want to start 0-1 after getting rid of Stephon Diggs, after getting rid of Gabe Davis, after having all those injuries. This isn't a great way to start the season, and they were able to go. They were able to be at home and get the dub to really not put any fear into Bills Mafia there. But really good all around game by Josh Allen. Who was it? Shakur and Mac Hollins brought in those touchdowns. Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid, not really a factor in these games. The 2 tight ends that, going into this season, I felt like everybody was talking about, like, oh, these 2 tight ends are going to be hauling in passes. They each only had 1 catch, I believe. I know Dalton Kincaid had 1, and then Dawson Knox, 1 catch each. So I don't know if in the future it's going to look a little bit different with that 2 tight end set or what, but they were definitely not that involved in the offense yesterday.
Yeah, and I think when you're looking at this team, the one thing for the Cardinals, the one thing that should stand out if you want to, say, hey, is this a fluke or did the Bills actually play bad? Because that's the thing about week 1.
Yeah.
It's like if the Bills played bad and the Cardinals played at the same level, then you would have the same result. So there could be 2 bad teams, not 2 good teams, or 2 average teams. But bad teams don't have 100% red zone scoring efficiency. That's what the Cardinals did. The Cardinals scored 100%, same as Mike McDaniel. So when we're talking about Jonathan Gannon, one thing I think is for sure is that he's going to have this offense firing. 28 total points. The Bills had 34. So, yeah, they lose the game. But the Bills were only 71%, which is still good. But 100% is a very hard mark to reach. Also, third down efficiency. The Bills were 33% on third down. The Cardinals were 62% on third down. Their average yards per play was 4.7. To the Bills 5.8. So the Bills had a couple more big plays. So they had more yards, but when you actually look at this game, it's like the Cardinals were actually extending drives. And that's why their average yards per possession, per drive, was actually higher than the Bills. Their average yards per drive was 28. So I think the Cardinals, even though they lost this game, you're seeing that their offense is going to be good this year, which is probably surprising to a lot of people who just thought, yeah, the Cardinals aren't going to be good this year. They're well coached. They got a good offensive mind. They got a good quarterback, and they played better than the Bills in some of the metrics. They just missed a couple of those big plays that the Bills made at the end. That's the experience that Buffalo has over the Cardinals. They're still a young team, but expect them to win a lot of these games that they're not playing the Bills or the Chiefs or the Eagles.
Yeah.
There's plenty of winnable games on that roster, and I think sooner rather than later, the Cardinals are going to kind of emerge into one of those wild card teams.
Yeah, James Conner looked really good in this game, by the way. And Marvin Harrison, 1 catch. Expect more from him in the future.
Shit. Yeah. Next up, we got the Steelers and the Falcons, who I thought the Steelers were going to win this game. I didn't think they were going to win it with Justin Fields. But if you would have told me Justin Fields was going to play, I would have went with the Steelers anyway, just because Mike Tomlin on the road is an underdog. He's the best coach in the NFL statistically under those circumstances. Atlanta's kind of been crowned before they even played a single down, but by Rick actually himself. But there was a lot to be desired from Atlanta right off the bat. TJ Watt. The reason that Pittsburgh wins week 1 on the road as an underdog is because week 1 is the 1 week TJ Watt is actually healthy for.
You can't not have him ball out week 1 when he is healthy like that. You're right.
So TJ Watt, he lived up to the expectations. He caused havoc. He was just a nightmare the whole game, which he always is on week 1. He recorded a sack. He had 2 QB hits, 2 additional pass rush wins across 23 pass rush snaps. He also recovered a fumble. He forced 2 more fumbles that were negated by penalties, but his impact was undeniable if you watch the game. Overall, it was kind of a sloppy game, right?
Yeah.
I was just going to say, like, I don't feel like Justin Fields did enough to take over the starting job moving forward, even though they won a really difficult game on the road against, a team that's supposed to be in the playoffs. Somehow Justin Fields, even with this quarterback situation, going on, and even with the win, it just doesn't feel like he earned the job moving forward. The stats just weren't great.
No, 156 yards passing on 23 attempts. This is who Justin Fields is. 14 carries, 57 yards. The Atlanta defense didn't really do much, guys. Let's be real. The Atlanta defense did not do much at all. They sacked him twice. Sure, but this is who Justin Fields is. Okay, he's going to carry the ball. He's going to see that the play is not developed to his liking. The guy's not wide open, and he's going to run it himself. But yeah, man, you're right. I could not agree with you more. Justin Fields had a golden opportunity week 1 to cement himself as a starter and didn't do anything that was impressive or anything that should give any of the fans, the coaching staff, whatever, confidence in him to continue to be QB1. And I'm not going to sit here and just like talk shit, right, about Justin Fields. I know what we had with him. I know what the deal was. But this is what you get with Justin Fields. The funniest thing, though, is Russell Wilson being inactive for the game in full pads on the sideline. And he was emergency QB. That's who he was. But he went full Russell Wilson. What was it? Oh God, what's his name? Mr.
Unlimited. You gotta be unlimited. So when they're asking you, right, what's your inspiration or what you're gonna do, you gotta be unlimited. You gotta be I'm unlimited.
He was
Where do you get your inspiration, Russ? I think it's Pete. I think it's this guy. I think it's unlimited.
He was definitely limited on Sunday.
He was limited to nothing.
Yeah. Russell Wilson looked at Justin Fields and was like, "Whew, my job is safe." We got Bill, hat on fire, got the membership. Bill, I know you wanted
somebody that actually comes.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say, ooh, yeah, he definitely comes. I know you wanted it to go to Nick, but Head on Fire definitely does join us every once in a while here on the stream. So at least, Bill, like you were saying earlier, at least it's going to somebody who actually participates in the chat, actually says some stuff. So that's good. And with that, I want to give a huge shout out to Bill, Lil E, Jinja, Nick. All you guys are here, and we absolutely love it. Nick, you got to turn that on. You got to turn on the gifts, brother. You got to turn it on. Can't
This
say. I was gonna say real
sorry,
quick. Can't say enough about the Pittsburgh defense, but go ahead, Kyle.
this game, if you just look at the box score, is almost the exact same. All right, so you got each team with passing first downs. Steelers had 7, they had 8. How many drives? They both had exactly 10 possessions.
Wow.
The average yards per drive, the Steelers 25, the Falcons 20. You look at third down efficiency, the Steelers were 47%, the Falcons were 33. Both not great. 8 rushing first downs for the Steelers, 6 for the Falcons, 7 passing first downs for the Steelers, 8 for the Falcons. I mean, it's like gnat ass the same. But the one difference is third down efficiency. The Steelers were 47% on third down versus that 33. So that tells you just how important it is to convert on third down and to be able to extend drives. And that's why they had 25 yards per drive to the Falcons 20. But overall, like the Steelers offense sucked, and they sucked last year, and we expect them to suck this year too. The Falcons, this is not a good start because I didn't like the hiring of Raheem Morris. I did not like it. I said, I don't understand defensive hires anymore. I love defense. I think it's amazing when you got your defense figured out. But I think at the coordinator level, if you get the right guy, you can get your defense figured out. I think the head coach needs to be an offensive guy. That's why we just saw Mike McDaniel and the what was the game we just covered with Atlanta?
Shanahan,
Rich Gannon.
Rich Gannon.
Offense. The Steelers and the Falcons, this game was so close because they're going to be an inverse of each other. This is what the Falcons are going to look like under Raheem Morris. This is what I've been warning Falcon fans about all offseason. Ever since they made this hiring decision, the Steelers and the Falcons are going to have very similar seasons this year, and they're going to be tough. They're going to grind games out, but I'm just throwing it out there. The Falcons offense scoring only 10 points is absolute dog shit.
Yeah.
They have so much talent on that team, and now they have Kirk Cousins, and it just shows you how important it is to have the head coach right.
Yeah, and who scored the touchdown for Atlanta? Kyle Pitts. A guy who has been underused pretty much since they drafted him. How poetic for him to be the only one to score the actual offensive points. 100% correct. Kirk Cousins was supposed to come in and immediately make an impact. You know what I mean? Like I said that. I think the entire thought process behind bringing him in was that they're going to make him an immediate playoff contender. And he looked like shit. He looked really bad. Bijan Robinson looked great, luckily, and Kyle Pitts was looking pretty damn good as well. Drake London, Darnell Mooney, like these guys that are supposed to be wide receiver 1 and 2 didn't do too well. Drake London, I feel like, is primed to do well regardless this season. It's just going to take a little bit of time. We saw across the board, Kyle, offenses not look good. And it really all started with, going back to the Ravens on Thursday night. The Ravens did not look like they were in sync. And I feel like that carried over into quite a majority of the NFL teams into Sunday. Was like the offenses looked off, except for the Packers and Eagles. Like both offenses in that game looked amazing, but everything in Sunday looked a little weird. It's week 1. I get it. There's been some moves. There's rookie quarterbacks. There's players starting on their teams after being traded there. So there's going to be a lot of that. But yeah, the Falcons did not really give a lot to instill hope other than their red zone defense, which stopped a a lot of touchdowns, and pretty much this was a field goal game that they lost by. You gave up 6 field goals to lose by 8. Like I don't know. Like
You
they
got to
got
do more.
Judon. Yeah, they got Judon. He didn't really do much. This defense for Atlanta didn't look great.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say about the defense for Atlanta is that they brought in Justin Simmons really late. You're
Mm-hmm.
wondering how they were going to utilize him. Him and Jesse Bates, who they brought over from Cincinnati, both safeties played 69 snaps, um,
Nice.
which is all the snaps that they could have taken. So you are seeing. I mean, look, you point out the 8 field goals like it's a bad thing. I look at it like a great thing. I
Mm-hmm.
think Atlanta's defense did their job. Um, yeah, maybe they bend, but they didn't break. You gave up 6 field goals. You kept the Steelers from scoring every time they got into that range. Atlanta's got to do their job and score more than 18 points. Like if a defense holds you to 18 points or less, I
Mm-hmm.
will always put that on the offense. 10 times out of 10 times.
I get
Um,
that. I get that.
with the way with the new kickoff rule and all the rules designed for points, like you got to score more than 18 points. And one team that didn't score more than 18 points, actually they didn't score more than 7 points. Uh, Bill, plug your ears. The New York Giants 6,
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota Vikings 28. A couple predictions that I made came through. One of them was that Sam Darnold would win Comeback Player of the Year because he would look good for the first time in his career, because he is with an quarterback whisperer
Mm-hmm.
in Kevin O'Connell, and he has weapons around him for the first time. Sam Darnold delivered 2 touchdown passes. He had a strong debut. He helped his team get to a win. It was a dominant win in the Giants Stadium on the road. He had a 22-yard completion to Josh Oliver that set up a short Aaron Jones touchdown
Mm-hmm.
and run to open the scoring. And then he connected with Justin Jefferson for a 3-yard touchdown. Later hit Jalen Naylor on a 21-yard touchdown to extend the lead, giving the Vikings a solid lead. And overall, I think you're excited about the Sam Darnold era this year. If you're a Viking fan,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, yes, I know it's the Giants and they're not expected to be a great team this year, but I still think that they're a really solid defense. They had their uniforms on,
Yeah.
the old school uniforms. People joke about it, but it's like anytime you're having a home opener and your crowd's in it and you're wearing those throwbacks, like it's gonna be a tough win. I don't care who you are. Like you're gonna play your best football. You've been game planning for months for this game. And Sam Darnold came in and you could see the poise. He looked like a veteran out there. And
Mm-hmm.
I think he's the player of the game. It's a statement win in his return to the stadium that he used to play at all the time for the Jets. He's a
Mm-hmm.
former number 3 overall pick that a lot of people would say, after you've been to your third team, that you were a bust. And he completed his first 11 passes on Sunday in a row.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
finished 19 for 24, over 200 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Um, and 1 interception, but the interception was a result of him being hit mid-throw rather than a bad decision. Overall, Darnold was clinical and
Yeah.
precise, and he completed 14 of his 15 attempts for 151 yards with 10 yards per attempt when he was
Wow.
kept in a clean pocket. This is the Sam Darnold you're going to get this year. It's not just the Giants. There's
Mm-hmm.
more of this to come. The Vikings should be excited.
Do you think? And I know this was the Century Red uniforms. Do you think it was week one is way too early for the uniforms, the different uniforms?
No, no, because I think your first game, you should be allowed to express yourself however you want.
I get that, but it's like those Century Reds are like, in my
I think it
opinion,
might be
those
the
are like,
best game for it.
I don't know. I feel like that's a division rival uniform.
Well,
You
that's
know,
definitely how Denver's using theirs. Raiders and Chiefs only.
no, there you go. So I like it. I just week one, I get it. 100 years. I like the helmets. That's really all I'm going to say about the uniforms, Bill. I'm sorry. Um, anyway, yeah, Daniel Jones looked bad. Looked bad in this game.
Should have kept the beard.
Should have kept the beard. Should have stayed looking hot. 42 attempts, completed 22 of those, 186 yards and 2 interceptions, a pick 6. You got guys in the Minnesota Vikings talking about how they felt bad for Daniel Jones in this game. They felt bad for him. And only 6 points. You got your kicker being the offense for you. Look, I've been there. I have been there as a Bears fan where Cairo Santos or Robbie Gold was the only guy able to get us points. It sucks, but man, the Giants had really, really low expectations. But they squashed those expectations and went even lower. Again, Bill, I'm sorry we're talking shit on your team, but like they looked bad. If DJ looks like crap, does Dable pull him at the half? A lot of Giants Twitter thinks so. Yeah, absolutely. Dable right now is coaching for his job. In my opinion, he's coaching for his job, 100%.
Yeah, because okay, I'm gonna forget if I don't say it. So this was the reason they wore those jerseys, because it was the first game of the 100-year season.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you knew that?
Yeah. It's the 100th season of the Giants. You could still wear that later. I just feel like week one's a little, I don't know.
Oh, okay. I guess that did it for me. But
yeah.
Okay. The thing I wanted to bring up was Mike McDaniel. Now we have a track record. Mike McDaniel, the freaking Cardinals head coach. Jonathan Gannon. And then the game we just covered, I can't keep track, but all the offensive coaches are doing really good in the red zone. The Vikings, Kevin O'Connell, 100% from red zone scoring efficiency standpoint. And look at this. Rushing first downs, they had 7. Passing first downs, they had 8, which means the Vikings were very balanced. And when you have a balanced rushing and passing attack, you are able to convert in the red zone. The Giants had only 4 rushing first downs and they had 9 passing first downs. They were 33% in the red zone. The thing is that the Giants are supposed to be an offensive team. Like Brian Dable's supposed to be that offensive guy. These are the kind of numbers that you get from Raheem Morris. You're not supposed to get these kind of numbers from a quarterback whisperer. So that's what's concerning. And that's why I would say that Dable is playing for his job, coaching for his job right now, is because the type of numbers that he's putting up don't suggest that he's one of the top offensive minds in our league. But I also think Daniel Jones might just suck, and we have to come to terms with that. But it's hard to know, like, okay, well, what about when Daniel Jones didn't suck? That's kind of confusing, and that kind of it brings an element into the equation that makes it extremely difficult to know if it's Dable or not. But one thing I know about New York is that they're not going to give you enough time to figure it out.
Yeah, the only saving grace right now for Daniel Jones is the fact that half of his passes went to Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson, and they did really well. Malik Neighbors, stud. Wan'Dale Robinson, looking like a stud as well. Hopefully, he can use that to his, in his favor. Because like you said, Daniel Jones might just suck. I really don't think it's Brian Dable, even though like last year I was like, shit, I think Brian Dable's going to get fired. I really do think so. Brian Dable, when he came in, was like, look at Daniel Jones. Oh my God, this is why we're going to pay him $40 million a year. And now it's like Daniel Jones hasn't done the work. Yes, he was injured last year, but even before that, it still wasn't looking great. It wasn't looking like year one Daniel Jones. It looked rough. They bring in these receivers. Luckily with Wan'Dale and Malik, half of his passes are going to him. Like, he has got to get the ball to him, to them specifically. Daniel Jones is also carrying the ball 6 times. Yes, he's got the legs, and that's what they used in their favor year one. But when you've got like stud wide receivers, get it to them, because they are doing really good work there on the outside with Neighbors and Wan'Dale. So get it to them. That is one of the that's going to be like his safety net if Daniel Jones wants to keep his job and justify that $40 million. By the way, Devin Singletary for the running back for the Giants, yeah, not making up for the loss of Saquon. I feel like he's going to be a journeyman running back here soon.
All right, next up we got the Seattle Seahawks and the Denver Broncos. And it wasn't what we wanted, right? We wanted to win. We got 20 points, 20-26. We did have two safeties in the game. The defense did start the game with a sack followed by an interception. Overall, it just felt like the environment was a little much for Knicks. Now, there was a quarterback last year that looked really bad as a rookie, week 1, and he turned his whole season around. Do you know who that one is?
Bryce Young.
CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud, week 1, had to go on the road like Bo Nix did, and he had to go against Mike McDonald as a Raven.
There you go.
Look, this is one of the best defensive minds in the league. That's why he's a head coach now. That's why he was an attractive candidate even when they had Pete Carroll. So, look, I don't think you could have put together a more difficult game for him. I still believe that he was going to go out there and win because I believe in Bo Nix. I do. And it wasn't really until the end of that game where we got to see Bo Nix. Like, it felt like he was frustrated. It felt like he was kind of shaky. He didn't seem calm. He just, something seemed off. And it was Mike McDonald calling a great game defensively. You're watching the game and I'm confused. I can just imagine how he feels after having to be on the field reacting in real time. It's like you got players showing blitz and they're backing off, but then they're blitzing. A corner comes flying in. It was very, very challenging. You could just see. Yeah. And the other thing is the Seahawks tackled extremely well in this game. The Broncos had no yards after the catch in this game. It's almost like an unheard of stat. How do you have no yards after the catch? That's single insane. Ball they caught, the play ended right there. There was also early in the game, Javonte slipped on a 3rd and 1 where he could have scored. There was the next third down series. He had a receiver drop the ball, went right through his hands. Cortland Sutton had a couple of drops. It's like, as much as it's easy to blame it on Bo, like the team wasn't helping him out around him. Yeah. I thought the defense did enough, but then they kind of collapsed in the third quarter where Kenneth Walker got going and then they just couldn't stop him. He was averaging like 12 yards a carry at one point. And it sucks because it felt like Vance Joseph was keeping the deep safeties and he wasn't really adapting to the fact that they were running all over us, because as soon as he did that, we knew Seattle was just going to throw it. When you have Denver already on their heels like that, it's already a loss. But with all that said, Denver was 1 third down stop away from Bo Nix having a chance to drive down and win the game 27-26. So I felt like just having a fighting chance at the end. I wish we would have gotten it, even if he didn't drive down. I would have liked to see what he looked like in that situation. But the drive before that, he had to drive down and score, and he did. And he made really good throws down the sideline. He ended up running it in himself. And it was almost like, hey, there he is. That's Bo Nix. That's who we thought we were going to get. And I'm just really happy the game didn't end without getting that one drive, because I feel like that is kind of a stepping stone and we can build off of that. But yeah, Mike McDonald, like it was a huge task, huge challenge for him. And he didn't win it. Neither did CJ Stroud. Neither did, John Elway was benched his first game. Peyton Manning had a terrible season. Like, anybody that thinks you just go in and it's going to be easy just doesn't really understand how difficult this game is. But the great quarterbacks build from these moments, And all we can do is hope that Bo Nix is going to be one of those quarterbacks that learn and get better from this.
Yeah, it's you were right. The team didn't really help Bo Nix much. He threw 42 times, had 138 yards, 2 interceptions. Not a great start for the rookie, but and I have a question for you at the end of this, and if I don't ask it, remind me. Um, like you said, God bless Bo Nix, Bo Six. Um, so the team did not look great when we were predicting this game, when we were doing our picks. I just like they were a third down stop away, like you said, for him having a chance. I knew that going into Seattle, into that stadium against Mike McDonald, um, or Matt McDonald, whatever his name is, McDonald, was gonna
Matt.
be McDonald. Sorry, McDonald was gonna be a rough start for the rookie, and I mean that's exactly what it was. Unfortunately, that's exactly how I went for Bo Nix. My question to you is Cortland Sutton going to get traded at this trade deadline?
No.
Okay.
No, he didn't have a great game, but like we've just seen too much from him. Like he makes amazing catches. Like he's got to come down with those. I feel like if they were going to trade him, they would have done it by now. I think Sean's made it pretty clear that he wants him on this team. And the other piece of it is like when you have a game like that, it makes you feel like you don't have good weapons on the team. So like I think the worst thing you could do is get rid of the closest thing that you do have for weapons.
Yeah. I just think that he's starting to become that wide receiver across the league, similar to like an Allen Robinson, where when the Bears got him, he was good, but he wasn't being utilized very well in Jacksonville. And then the Bears got him, and it was like, holy shit, where's Allen Robinson been this entire time? I feel like Cortland Sutton may be that.
It was one game. Like last season, he went off.
No, and that's what I mean. Like, I'm not saying they're going to trade him because he sucks. I'm saying they're going to trade him because they're like, you know what? We're in a clear rebuild mode. I think we need to get some pieces, get some picks, not because he sucks. He's probably still going to be a very good wide receiver for the next 5-6 years or whatever. It's just, again, Denver is rebuilding. So let's get picks. Let's get some value for him now at his highest that we can get and see how we can build from there. Cause for the most part, it's like the Russell Wilson contract is hitting that cap hard, even though the cap doesn't exist. You try to get some younger guys in here. You've already locked down Surtain, which is going to lock down your defense and your secondary there, make that amazing. I just think maybe Cortland Sutton may be the next victim is in terms of like being traded for draft value. So that's my opinion. On the other side for Seattle, Kenneth Walker III looked amazing. 20 carries, 100 yards, a touchdown. Geno Smith had a decent day. He did throw an interception and a touchdown. But, man, Kenneth Walker III and Tyler Lockett looked really, really good on Sunday against the Broncos. Unless Kenneth Walker III gets hurt.
Grow up.
He's going to have a good year. Grow up.
God, you're such a child.
You don't even know football, dick.
Yeah. No, I think Seattle, they could be good this year. Also, like, we'll see what they look like when they don't face a rookie quarterback at home.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you one thing: they're gonna have a top 7 defense this year.
Yeah, that defense is so good. Secondary good, line good. Yeah.
Maybe even top 5. Yeah. I just the fundamentals are all there. The technical sound football. You can just see his fingerprint on that team. There's certain things that doesn't matter who you play, like tackling. Like you can just tell a good defense, the way they fly around, the way they disguise, like the Vikings too, with Brian Flores, they're going to be really good this year. So
Yeah.
The other teams in the AFC West that haven't played each other, and it was the Chargers and the Vegas Raiders in another head coach debut with Jim Harbaugh. And I feel like for Jim Harbaugh, he gave you exactly what you would have expected. Like he ran the football over and over and over and over. Finally, they popped big runs. I thought the Chargers were going to win this game, 22-10. They did,
Hmm.
and I think Harbaugh is going to. I made this prediction a while ago, but I still believe it today that the Chargers are going to start the season I think it's 4-0, and then they're going to play the Chiefs week 5, and that'll be for first place
Hmm.
in the division. This whole thing where it's like there's just not enough talent. This is Harbaugh is going to find a way to win. J.K. Dobbins returned from his torn Achilles,
Hmm.
and he provided the spark for the team. He rushed for 135 yards and a touchdown, forcing 4 missed tackles along the way. Also, people were thinking J.K. Dobbins was, oh, it's just like damaged goods out
Yep.
after the Achilles. Now here he comes out running for 135 yards.
Hmm.
Um, Player of the game is Joey Bosa. He looked like himself. you know,
Yes, he did.
he had 3 quarterback pressures as a pass rusher. He made 2 stops. He forced the fumble. Um, just the Chargers overall, they have enough talent to win now because they got the coach right and they have the quarterback right. They have good players on defense like Joey Bosa,
Hmm.
like
Khalil
Derwin
Mack.
James, the safety. The cornerbacks are pretty good. I think this team's in good shape. Great coaching goes a long way. The one big difference I saw in this game was that the Raiders only had 1 rushing first down, and the
Hmm.
Chargers had 5.
Hmm.
The Raiders had 12 passing first downs. The Chargers had 6. So the Chargers were totally balanced, 5
Hmm.
and 6. Look at the Raiders, 1 and 12. Um, so the Raiders getting rid of Josh Jacobs and then having really no answer for the running game. Um, I'm wondering if that's going to be a continuing theme where the Raiders just aren't able to run the football. They become
Yeah.
one dimensional, and then you can just kind of play back on them, and then once they're behind, it's pretty much over because
Hmm.
I just I don't know how you win in this league if you don't run the football. We just got done with the Broncos game. The 40 passes was not part of the plan for Bo Nix, but when you can't
Hmm.
run the football and you're behind, all of a sudden you become one dimensional and then it's impossible to win. The great football teams are like the balanced ones that we've already named off of that had just as many rushing first downs as they had passing. And those are typically the teams that had high red zone scoring efficiency. It doesn't matter how much this league changes to a passing league, running the football is always going to be the common denominator for being able to do that.
Yeah, and you saw across the league too in week 1, a lot of teams not being able to establish the run. The Bears being one of them. We're going to talk about them in a bit, but that needs to be that needs that doesn't need to be understated. Like it cannot be understated because that is very important. Like you're saying, establishing that run, and Chargers were able to do that. Greg Roman, we talked about that addition to Harbaugh's staff. That dude was leading the Ravens in terms of rushing game. Like they were top 5 for like 3 years in a row. And what did they do? They went out and got the Ravens running backs from last year. They got J.K. Dobbins, they got Gus Edwards, and they were able to do a lot of good things with that. 135 yards, like you mentioned, for J.K. Dobbins and a touchdown. Justin Herbert only throwing it 26 times for 144 yards. Not something that we would have expected from Justin Herbert. And that's probably why he is available in a few leagues in fantasy, is because a lot of people, Vegas analysts, were like, you know what? These coaching hires, they're not going to be passing it that much. Our buddy Race, who is a Chargers fan, said the same thing. They're not going to be passing it that much. It's mostly going to be a rushing game. But still got Herbert there just in case you do need to sling it. They played really well. Lad McConkey, rookie, 5 receptions, 39 yards, and a touchdown. Great debut for him. And with Gardner Minshew and the Raiders, Amir White, really good. Kind of, for the most part, a good game. 13 carries, 44 yards. But Gardner Minshew, 25 for 33, 257 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Those aren't numbers, in my opinion, you would have seen with Aiden O'Connell. Gardner Minshew is throwing it downfield. He's taking some chances, and he's putting them in a position to win. And look, they lost this one, obviously 22-10 by 2 scores. But it seemed like, to me, this Raiders offense with Gardner Minshew at quarterback, it looked a little bit better. I'm not saying it's going to look miles better. They're going to win 7-8 games. It looked like a good upgrade over Aiden O'Connell. Whether Aiden O'Connell can eventually start again if Gardner Minshew kind of doesn't do well, he has to perform much better than this to put them in any chance to win and put himself in any chance to continue to be a starter in the NFL. But again, the Raiders team looks slightly improved. I will say the addition of Christian Wilkins for Max Crosby, great addition in the interior for the defensive linemen. You saw, at least from what I saw, a couple of those defensive quarterback pressures, a sack here and there. Like Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins, they're going to be a very, very good duo on that defensive line.
Yeah, totally agree. The one thing I'll say, though, I feel like it would have been easier to start with Aiden O'Connell. And then if you're losing, go to Gardner Minshew. It's hard to go the other way because it's like there's no way you feel more confident in Aiden O'Connell.
I agree.
Okay, next up, we had a battle between two of the NFL's most promising young quarterbacks. Did you know that Anthony Richardson had higher odds than Matthew Stafford to win MVP this year?
No way.
I find it almost disturbing. But yeah, it's true. And the Houston Texans, CJ Stroud, and Indianapolis Colts, Anthony Richardson, had their lows in week 1. But I feel like their highs outweighed everything else. Stroud made 3 turnover-worthy plays, but he finished with a pretty strong 78.2 completion percentage. Richardson, in his return to regular season action following his big injury, completed 2 of his 20-yard plus attempts. He had 117 yards and a score, but he struggled a little bit with accuracy. And this was kind of a measuring stick game for the Colts because the Texans have been pretty much crowned the AFC South champions, but there's high expectations for Anthony Richardson and in the Colts. And you like the coach too. And we just got done saying if you get the coach and the quarterback right, you got a good chance. Well, I felt like the Colts played this game really tough. I mean, they're right there at the end of it. They had a really good chance. They averaged 7 yards per play.
Sorry.
They had 7 yards per play to the Texans 5.4, but only 14 first downs to the Texans 25. And that just is kind of amazing because they both had almost 10 possessions. The Colts had 9, the Texans had 10, but way more first downs for 11 more first downs for the Texans. So they were able to get on these long drives, averaging 8 plays per drive versus the Colts 5 plays per drive, which tells you that the third down efficiency was pretty low and it was 50%. So overall, I feel like the Colts, I mean, no one expected them to win, but I think that they played well enough where you can still be optimistic this year.
Oh, 100%. And you have to look at the one play by Richardson where he just bombed the ball down to Alec Pierce for a touchdown. And that was like off balance, off his back foot. It was one of the craziest passes I've ever seen. Just the strength from Anthony Richardson. And I think that alone is what is helping him kind of get these MVP expectations, because that throw for a touchdown he threw was under pressure, again, off balance, off his back foot, and he absolutely threw a dime to Alec Pierce like 60 yards down the field or something like that. It was ridiculous. He also scored he also rushed, I should say, for a touchdown, threw for 2. Again, not very efficient, 9 for 19 with 212 yards, but when he threw the ball, it was for big gains. Like you said, they were not necessarily expected to win this game, but 29-27, if you're the Houston Texans, you're like, we came out of that division game with a win, and we should be extremely grateful because that was a very, very close game. On the side of the Texans, Joe Mixon lit it up, and I think after the game said, "I was not on the right team. I'm on the right team now." So he was talking a little shit about the Bengals. You know, they let him go. They saw, and he can see what the Bengals, what happened to the Bengals. They lost. So he killed it against the Colts. 30 carries, 159 yards, and the touchdown. Nico Collins, 6 receptions, 117 yards. This offense is going to continue to just be like high scoring, high yards. And the addition of Joe Mixon, I think, was a great offseason addition. Obviously, Stephon Diggs didn't do too much, 6 receptions, 33 yards, but he had the 2 touchdowns. That's kind of what the highlight was for him. But I think Joe Mixon, he was one of the additions. Everybody was talking about Stephon Diggs. Joe Mixon might be that low key, really like great pickup by the Texans in the offseason.
Yeah, because Joe Mixon still has plenty of ball left in him.
He does, absolutely.
It's like people are so quick when a running back joins the second team. They're like, oh, he's done. It's like sometimes they're not. Like Saquon Barkley and Joe Mixon.
There you go.
All right. Next up, you had the Carolina Panthers getting dismantled by the Saints. And before we went into Sunday, I saw something about Derek Carr that really inspired me. It was his old coach, who is not in the NFL anymore for his racial comments, but he was on YouTube, and he was interviewing him, and I listened to it, and Derek Carr said he went back to what he was doing in college. He said he broke PRs in squats. He said he conditioned like he hadn't since his college days. The way he was talking about football, it sounded like he was going to come out and have like one of his best years, and he couldn't have come out to a better start. And it's one of those where you're like, we spent the whole offseason being like, what week is Derek Carr going to be benched? Like, it's a for sure thing. And it's like, it's not a for sure thing. Like, Derek Carr had really good seasons in the past, and the Saints overall just haven't been a great team. But it's hard to say it's all Derek Carr's fault.
Yeah.
And I think for the Panthers, like Bryce Young not playing in the preseason, this was his first real football, and like he's not even close to living up to the number one, overall pick hype. He had 2 turnover worthy plays. He had a 48% completion rate. So he was under significant pressure again, much of it coming from Chase Young. But it was another lackluster showing for a player who entered the league with a sky-high ceiling, and he's not even close to it. And then on the other side, like I said, Derek Carr, who has a very low ceiling, they're opposites. Like low ceiling outperformed high ceiling, not even close. So that's kind of the story when I look at this game. I think the player of the game's got to go to Derek Carr. When he carves up a secondary the way he did, and you lay 47 points on any defense, you're going to end up being the player of the game. He made 3 big throws, completed 6 of his 10 passing attempts, thrown 10 or more yards downfield, and had 134 yards and 3 scores on those attempts. So he was, in prime form in this game.
No, yeah, I feel bad because I was talking so much shit about Derek Carr. Obviously, last year wasn't a good year for him, but you have a really good point. The Saints in general are just not a good team, or haven't been, with Derek Carr as quarterback. But Sunday, he pretty much shut all the haters up, at least for week 1 of this new season. 200 yards, 3 touchdown passes, 19 for 23. He was efficient. He had the big throws, the big plays. Alvin Kamara and Jamal Williams both rushed for a score. Alvin Kamara also caught. Oh, no, he did not catch a touchdown. He caught 5 passes. But Rashid Shaheed, Moreau, and Juwan Johnson, he was kind of spreading the offense a bit. And that's at least in my opinion, that's what you want to do to get those yards, to get them in a rhythm. Chris Olave was pretty absent from this offense, although again he was spreading the ball around to his other guys. So I feel bad for talking shit about Derek Carr and that defense too, because that defense put a lot of pressure on the Panthers. Now, I don't want to give all the credit to the Saints because let's be real, they were also playing the Panthers. But when you are playing a shitty team, that's what you got to do to shitty teams. We talked about
we
it, right?
picked the Panthers.
And I think we did pick the Panthers.
So it's not even like they're a shitty team now, but we felt way more optimistic before the Saints beat the shit out of them.
I felt going into the season, I really did think that the Panthers were going to be better.
Yeah.
And again, I say that. Yeah. And I had said that without not necessarily specifying, but they're not going to be an 8-win team. They're going to be a 4 or 5-win team. Maybe like the offense is going to look a little bit better, at least what I thought was going to happen. And clearly that is not the case, man. Bryce Young looked flustered the entire game. The offense did not get going one bit. Miles Sanders, Chuba Hubbard, none of these guys in the run game seem to be getting anything going. They even brought in Andy Dalton for a pass. But Bryce Young, 2 interceptions with 161 yards. Just not a great start. And so far, Kyle has been nothing but correct about Bryce Young being just a shit player. Again, Canales, game 1 as a rookie head coach. We'll see what he can do the rest of the way. See if he can maybe get some more confidence from these guys, or at least have them play a little bit better. But the Saints absolutely smoked the Panthers. Absolutely smoked the Panthers. And if this is any indication of what the Panthers are going to be, I think Nick said it earlier, like we may as well take a moment of silence for the 0-17 Panthers coming up. And Kyle's already like, yeah, I'm there.
It's not a moment of silence if you laugh through it, Rick. Well, one quarterback that may or may not have or gotten confidence, we'll talk about it, is Caleb Williams, the Bears quarterback, who in his debut managed 24 unanswered points to knock off the Titans in week 1. Williams, from I think all of our perspectives, was far from polished, but the Bears defense and special teams stepped up, provided 14 points to beat a Titans team that jumped out to an early lead behind one of their free agent signings, Tony Pollard, who looked pretty good in this game. I mean, it doesn't really matter because you won. And that's the thing. Like, as much as you want to see more from Williams, just like I wanted to see more from Knicks, like if you go on that final drive and you win the game, it feels so different. But in your case, you got the win. So I think you're like, hey, no harm, no foul. We got the win. Like if we can win while we're figuring it out, then we can be really good once we figure it out. And that creates a lot of optimism, because it takes a really good team to be able to win while they're figuring it out. And that's something that a really talented roster can do. A roster that doesn't have a lot of talent can't overcome the, I guess, deficiencies that they may or may not have. So I think for the Bears, like you're feeling optimistic, even though you wanted to see more from Caleb Williams. And the player of the game is going to be Jalen Johnson for me, who displayed why he got that $76 million contract, forcing a fumble. He faced 3 targets in coverage, allowed only 1 completion for 2 yards. The other 2 resulted in a forced incompletion and an interception. No, he didn't force a fumble, did he? Am I mixing that up?
No, he got an interception. I think the forced fumble came from Darrell Taylor, who the Bears just got from the Seahawks.
Okay. But yeah, still, he's going to be my player of the game. He looked awesome.
No, yeah, Jalen Johnson looked great. And to seal the win with Jalen Johnson on that interception, on that pick from Will Levis was awesome. The Titans Tony Pollard looked really good. That first drive where they were able to get that 3-and-out, I was like, okay, we're cooking with gas. We're cooking with oil, whatever. We're cooking right now. This defense is going to be really good. And Will Levis and this Titans offense is not going to be great. And then they get down to the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth offensive series. And I'm like, oh my God, here we go. Right. Like this is one of those games where the Bears defense is probably going to have to do it all. And they're still giving up points. Tony Pollard looked awesome. Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd looked good. Okonkwo looked good. Like Will Levis in that first half of that game looked pretty damn good. And then the special teams and defense stepped up. They got the block punt. Jonathan Owens was able to take that back for a touchdown. Then Will Levis threw one of the worst picks and probably going to go down in at least this year's history as one of the worst pick sixes of the season, because he was just kind of like either he was trying to throw it out of bounds and he didn't get enough behind it, or he was actually trying to complete it to his receiver. Regardless, Tyreek Stevenson was able to notice that he was kind of just like trying to Hail Mary that thing, and was able to grab it, take it all the way, and then the Bears ended up with a lead there. So the defense, man, this game with if this game was with Justin Fields a year or two ago when the defense was nowhere near as good as it is, this year and latter half of last year, this is a game the Bears lose 100%, 10 out of 10.
With Justin Fields?
Well, with Justin Fields and with this defense, because Caleb Williams didn't do anything to give the game away. He protected the football and no interceptions, nothing like that.
I think you win this one with Fields.
I highly doubt it, because
we saw his wins. But
you also got to think about the defense. You also got to think about the defense, though. The defense was nowhere near as good when Fields.
That's what I'm saying. I think if Fields started in this game, just like he started in the Atlanta game, and their defense won it, I think he wins this one too.
Ooh, I don't know about that one. I really don't know about that one. Shout out to Skitty Mike, dude. Bo Nick's kind of disappointed. Rewind, Skitty Mike. Rewind, and Kyle will talk about it for sure. But thanks for joining us, Skitty Mike, and thanks for following us.
I don't feel like Caleb Williams did anything in this game to be like, this is a game that we would have lost without him. I think those games are going to come down the road. But I feel like you guys are just excited that you have Caleb Williams.
And I'm not saying that Caleb Williams did anything to win this game. I'm just saying he didn't do anything to lose this game. Like
week 1 last year where he was doing the slip and slide. Like you guys won that game. And who is that against?
That was against Trey Lance and the 49ers.
Right, that was against a 49ers team that felt kind of similar to this game.
Was that last year? No, that wasn't last year.
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah, that was 2 years ago when the hype was a little bit higher. Regardless.
Right. That was like Caleb Williams' game. Those games are the same to me.
Caleb Williams protected the football, was looking downfield. He had a bad game. He didn't even crack 100 yards passing. He was 14 for 29, basically less than half of his passes were completed. But I will say, dog shit. I will say a lot of his teammates did not help him out. Keenan Allen dropped a touchdown. That would have been Caleb Williams' first touchdown in a regular season NFL game. Keenan Allen dropped it. I believe, oh my God. I think it was Roma Dunze or DJ Moore dropped a couple passes each as well. So they weren't really helping Caleb Williams out. He completes those passes. He's got a touchdown and he's got over 100 yards. But again, Caleb Williams didn't do anything to lose this game. It was all the defense. It was strictly all the defense. And what Caleb Williams was able to do, what this team was able to do was get Cairo Santos in field goal position. And Cairo Santos, pretty damn good kicker. There was a couple where I was holding my breath and I was like, is he going to make this one? Is he going to make? And luckily he did, right? Luckily he was able to. But the defense and special teams were able to win this game. But let's not forget, Caleb Williams tossed a 2-point conversion touchdown pass. I don't know what it's called. Yeah, regardless, he got it to DeAndre Swift and he was able to score. The running game was rough and the offensive line was bad, especially from our center. It was bad. You can look at oh my God, what was his name? Bates, I think. Not Bates or Shelton. Coleman Shelton. Go on Reddit, look up Coleman Shelton, and it's like, fuck it, Coleman Shelton highlights. And it's just him missing every block that he had been assigned. So the offensive line was rough. The run game was never established. But again, Caleb Williams didn't play well. Luckily, the defense, Darrell Taylor, Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards, Tyreek Stevenson, Jonathan Owens, Jalen Johnson, all these guys were good enough to get the win for the Bears. And I'll tell you right now, I will take this win. I'm not going to apologize for this 1-0. Not going to do it. Not going to apologize. We're taking that dub all day, 1-0. Tony Pollard, though, looked good. And this defense for the Titans, I think this team is going to be better than a lot of people expected. But you and I think we did a really good job just kind of being like, I think this Tennessee Titans team is going to be good.
Yeah, I'm excited for week 2. It's going to even make things more, fool me once, fool me twice. Then we'll see what's going on. The New England Patriots are one of those teams. Yeah. They beat the Cincinnati Bengals. This was the upset of the week, in my opinion. The Bengals entered halftime with a goose egg on the scoreboard against the Patriots, who a lot of teams thought would be the NFL's least potent teams this season. While the Bengals came back and kind of narrowed the deficit in the second half, too many self-inflicted wounds kept them from stealing away Gerard Mayo's first victory as the Patriots head coach. And it was a big win because they had to go on the road to do it. It's one thing to get an upset at home, another thing to do it in Cincinnati. I was sitting next to a Bengals fan at the Combine. Super Bowl expectations, and you can tell when someone's saying it and they really believe it. They really believe like they're the best team in the NFL when Joe Burrow's healthy. So you can just imagine how shocked that stadium was when they were walking out of that game and they lost to the Patriots, a team that is expected to be the worst team in the league this year, the worst odds to make the postseason. Player of the game goes to second-year edge defender Keon White. He had three sacks, 4 quarterback pressures. Nice. He logged all of 1 sack across 301 pass rushing snaps last year. So this was a breakout performance from him. And you got a defensive head coach. You're going to get the defensive side of the ball playing extremely well. And the Patriots, this could be the recipe to winning some football games, is holding some of the best offenses in the league to 10 points. You're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, and you had mentioned that during our predictions episode where you're like, or no, I think we mentioned it afterwards, that the Bengals just week 1.
Oh, yeah, no, they're a slow starting team. They have been for the last 5 years.
Yeah, they're 1-4 in week 1 games. So they are slow starting like to a T, but I really did think this year was going to be a little different starting against the Patriots, sorry. Gerard Mayo, rookie head coach, Jacoby Brissett, journeyman quarterback. Jacoby Brissett did look good though. Jacoby Brissett, we got to give him some credit, man. 15 for 24, 121 yards. Not great numbers, but for a guy who has been around the league quite a bit and has gone from team to team, not a bad start to a dub with a team that is expected to also have like a top 5 pick again this year because they're clearly rebuilding. Ramondre Stevenson, 120 yards rushing and a touchdown. The Patriots definitely were able to establish the run. And Ramondre Stevenson is a huge reason. We got Bill with the super chat. Ramondre Stevenson, one of the biggest reasons why they were able to establish that. And I think Ramondre Stevenson is going to have a big year. And I think Patriots fans feel the same way. Because regardless if they continue with Jacoby Brissett or bring in Drake May, it's going to be a down year, and Ramondre Stevenson is going to be that guy that benefits from it. So they're going to get the run game established pretty damn well like they have.
Well, I like the punishment. I'll accept the Mayo cologne challenge.
If the Broncos lose next week, he has to buy the Mayo cologne. Bears lose one more week of no Bears gear. What's my punishment? Bill, it's too easy. The Giants are going to continue to lose. At least we have hope, I think.
What's his punishment though?
Bears lose one more. So
Oh,
if the Bears lose one, Bears lose one more week of no Bears gear. Oh, just one more week of no Bears gear. So okay, I
and
like I.
I have to buy Will Levis's clone, which is made out of mayo, and
Oh,
then
Bill, you're fucking killing me here because I finally
I'll
got to wear Bears gear again.
we'll get to it at the Chives. We'll come up with it. Next up, we got the Tampa Bay Bucks playing the Commanders, and in
Mm-hmm.
this game, all eyes were on Jaden Daniels. But as far as the NFC South goes, I've been kind of banging the table saying Tampa Bay and
Oh.
Baker Mayfield are getting just totally slept on. And what we saw from Baker Mayfield
Mm-hmm.
was a sign of things to come, and Tampa is going to be a really good team. His debut, he comes out 23 for 29, 257 yards, 4 touchdown passes, 0 interceptions. Um,
Yeah.
he is he had arguably the best performance of any quarterback week 1. He did. He's the
Mm-hmm.
best quarterback in the NFL
Mm-hmm.
this week. And Jaden Daniels, he had a notable debut, becoming the first quarterback in the NFL history to rush for over 80 yards and score 2 rushing touchdowns. But still, as far as like quarterback goes, like Baker Mayfield outplayed Jaden Daniels, but I thought Jaden Daniels, is the best quarterback in this class, and um, the passing, his rushing, he's a dual threat quarterback. I expect his passing to kind of catch up to where his rushing is at. But yeah, he's going to be a dual threat. The Commanders are going to stay in games because of him. I
Yep.
just think the Buccaneers are kind of on another level right now. They're the
Mm-hmm.
best team in their division, and they showed it. I mean, they had 60 offensive plays in this game, but they converted 85% of their third downs. Like you're going to win almost any game if you can convert 85% of your first downs. And
Mm-hmm.
um, the Buccaneers, their red zone scoring efficiency is 125%. I don't even know how that's possible.
What the
Um,
fuck?
so weird, but Chris Godwin's player of the game. He was targeted 8 times. He hauled in all 8 of those targets for 83 yards, 1 touchdown, and he had 6 first downs. He averaged 6 yards after the catch per reception and generated a near perfect 149.5 passer rating when he was targeted. All in all, like this is the Tampa Bay Bucks that we saw in the playoffs, and this is who they're going to be this year. They're going to win a lot of
Mm-hmm.
their football games. They're a really good team, and Baker Mayfield is he's playing the best football of his career right now.
Yeah, the Bucks, man. Oh my God, I can't say enough about the Bucks. Baker Mayfield looked amazing. You called it. He was the best quarterback out there right now. Tua had the most yards, but Baker had the best performance thus far in week 1. He was just killing it. We talked about Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin is an absolute beast. Mike Evans, still a beast. Rashad White, by the way. Rashad White and Bucky Irving, kind of that 1-2 punch there, running back. They did extremely well. Rashad White was running over guys on the Commanders, which the Commanders' defense is absolute garbage. Regardless, like Rashad White and Bucky Irving were running over people. Like last year, Rashad White was not necessarily one of the best running backs or even probably a decent running back. Like he had some games. He looks like he's like on some sort of like I'm gonna prove you wrong tour because the way he was running over people was like it was scary to see that big of a dude running people over. But Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Bucks did not skip a beat. They look like the same Bucks who destroyed the Eagles in that wild card round. Like they were doing anything and everything they wanted against this Washington Commanders defense. On the Commanders side, you pretty much had it right. Jaden Daniels is going to be the only reason that the Commanders stay in any games. Any games. He is the offense. What is a scary thought is he is going to be so much the offense that he begins to run the ball again himself. He starts to try to make things happen himself and not necessarily get the ball, to his wide receivers. Um, his leading wide receivers were both of his running backs, Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson. Terry McLaurin only had 2 catches. Obviously, the Bucks defense was pretty overwhelming, and again, it's a rookie quarterback, so you are going to expect something like that. But it's not a great formula for a rookie quarterback like Jaden Daniels, who is a dual threat and will have to do it all. Again, I went through the same thing with Justin Fields, who was very run first mentality when the play wasn't there or developed for him. It just sucks because Jaden Daniels has Scary Terry there to kind of be his number one, and he's got some other veterans there like Austin Eckler to kind of help him out a bit. I just fear that this is going to be another situation where you've got this quarterback who is a dual threat, and he just tries to do everything himself, and it in turn hurts the team more than helps it. But this is also week one, so it's probably an overreaction. Let's give it the season. You said he's the best quarterback of the class so far. I think in terms of rookie quarterbacks, he easily had the better debut amongst Caleb Williams, amongst Bo Nix, and himself. So he easily had the best debut out of the three. But again, probably an overreaction. Let's let the season play out.
Yeah, we'll see how that ages. Next up, we got the Dallas Cowboys. Tom Brady calling his first game.
Mm-hmm.
Going against the Cleveland Browns, Dak Prescott, hours before the game, gets a $240 million contract, making him the first player ever to get $60 million per year. And the reason you pay your quarterback is you're like, hey, you're the guy. You're going to get us our Super Bowl. We believe that. Why it took hours before kickoff, I'm not sure. Maybe it was troll by Jerry Jones. Not sure, but Prescott finished
Yeah.
19 of 32, 179 yards. He had a 21-yard touchdown to Brandon Cooks in the first quarter. They built a 27-3 lead pretty early thanks to Cavante Turpin's 60-yard punt return. And who I think is the best kicker in the NFL, Brandon Aubrey, 57, 50, 46, and a 40-yard field goal. That's pretty freaking impressive. Ezekiel Elliott
Yeah.
had a 3-yard rushing touchdown, which is like a welcome back for Zeke moment. And then
Mm-hmm.
on the other side, where the storyline is probably going to be much more dramatic, Deshaun Watson struggled massively,
Oh yeah.
playing in his first game since injuring his shoulder. He was sacked 6 times. He threw 2 picks, never found rhythm, and Dallas's defense kept the receivers locked down.
Dude, this Dallas team's going to be scary. This Dallas team's going to be scary. I told you. I called it. I mean, look, they're going up against this Cleveland team, but the Cleveland defense could do nothing against this Dallas team, which is surprising, especially after the year they're coming off of being basically the NFL's best defense last season. For the most part, they've kept everyone, I think, the same in terms of personnel. I don't know how many losses they've had over the offseason. I know one of them was their linebacker, if I'm not mistaken, and he was a really, really good one. When we streamed a Browns game, we were actually calling him out. We're like, damn, that guy's really good. But the scary thing about this is that Dak only threw for 179 yards and a touchdown, and they scored 33 points against this Cleveland Browns defense. So the running game actually did pretty damn well. Ezekiel Elliott, 10 carries for 40 yards and a touchdown. Rico Dowdle, CeeDee Lamb got a few rushes. Like, they were actually able to spread out the run game pretty efficiently. And then on top of that, Dak Prescott pretty much able to do anything in the pocket. Got CeeDee Lamb 5 receptions. Brandon Cook 4 receptions with a touchdown. Spreading the ball around, although I think they lost Jake Ferguson, their tight end, for some time. I don't know if that what's been confirmed or not confirmed for him, but you're right, man. Deshaun Watson on the other side just did not look good, and he has not looked good for the past 3 years. He just hasn't. It's that's what it is. Like he has not looked good. There were some games last season before he got injured where he looked like a decent quarterback, but the Cleveland Browns have to start getting a return on their investment in Deshaun Watson, because kind of like we were saying about Derek Carr, oh man, when are they going to bench him? Deshaun Watson is $230 million guaranteed by the Browns, And I think they're going to have to bench him eventually if he continues to play like this. That's going to be the crazy part, is that no one's going to want his contract. No one's going to want Deshaun if he plays like this. And they're also not going to want, the Browns are also not going to want Deshaun to play, to go into the games playing like this. They miss Nick Chubb a lot. We'll see when Nick Chubb comes back, but this
They
Browns
miss
team,
Bill Callahan a lot.
they miss Bill Callahan too. Like you said, he was never able to get in a rhythm. This Browns team is going to be in a shitload of trouble, and they have Stefanski as a 2-time head coach of the year, and this is how they're starting off. This is not a great start, man. This is going to be a rough year for the Browns.
Yeah, and that offensive line without Bill Callahan is going to be something to monitor.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Titans' offensive line looks better than the Browns. Just
Better than the Browns.
Coaching matters. The next game is two really good coaches. Second to last game here, we got the Detroit Lions and the Rams. The Lions battled until the very end. I had to dip out during this game, but of course, I thought it was going to be a close game. It was funny. I actually put in, it was a $5 bet that paid out like $800, and it was that the Rams would win in overtime. So when I saw this game go into overtime, I was like, I was checking my phone, but then I saw that Dave Montgomery just continued running the football down their throat, and the Rams just had no answer for it. They did have a 17-10 lead entering the fourth quarter. The Lions surrendered 10 unanswered points to fall behind late. However, a timely field goal forced overtime, where they sealed the win with the touchdown on the opening drive. I think Aiden Hutchinson's the player of the game here. He was arguably the biggest reason why Stafford was denied revenge for the second straight time, with his family in the crowd. His wife and children were watching. According to PFF's first
Daddy's
review.
dying.
Yeah. According to PFF's first review of the game film, Hutchinson recorded 1 sack, 3 hits, and 5 hurries from 44 pass rush snaps, and he added another 8 pass rush wins that didn't result in pressure. The star pass rusher ended the contest with a 37% pass rush win rate and a 90-plus PFF grade. I've been saying this all season. The defensive player of the year the finalist is going to be Nick Chubb and Aiden Hutchinson. One of those two win it this year for sure.
Oh man, Kyle's already calling it. He's already calling it. I love it. The fact that this game went into overtime, though, crazy, because like you said, like they scored 10 unanswered points in the fourth quarter. Detroit did a lot to get back into this, or I'm sorry, the Rams did a lot to get back into this game too. And Jared Goff, he had a couple goofs here and there to pretty much get the Rams back into the game. Luckily, they were able to get into overtime, and like you said, they just fed David Montgomery the ball. I think it was like 5 run plays in overtime for David Montgomery to where he finally scored a touchdown and was able to get the win. It was just crazy. Like, it was such a good game. And like you said, unfortunately, Stafford unable to get this revenge win, but Stafford and the Rams are going to be good this year, man. And you called it preseason. You're like, the Rams are going to be good this year. And especially in an NFC West where you got the 49ers looking the way they did last night. And we'll talk about that here in a bit. It's going to be tough for them to beat that, and especially, unfortunately, Puka Nacua is going to be out a few games as well, so he's currently on the IR, is going to miss at minimum the next 4 weeks, as well as some offensive linemen too. So Rams already got some injury bugs in week 1, but I think the offense with Cooper Kupp, with Kyron Williams, with Stafford is still going to be good enough to compete in the NFC West. But the Lions also look like a very, very good team in the NFC. So Lions up there. I called them winning the division, and I don't know, man. I don't think there's going to be any argument after last night, Sunday night.
Excited to see those two continue. And last, we have Monday Night Football. The New York Jets went against the San Francisco 49ers, and Aaron Rodgers, he played more than 4 snaps. And early in this game, I thought, honestly, Aaron Rodgers looked really good. Watching this game, I was like, okay, there was the fumble from Brees Hall early
Mm-hmm.
that like got him off the field. Then the first drive, there was just a drop by Alan Lazard on third down. It was
Yeah.
like, oh my God. And then finally, when they didn't have any negative plays, Rodgers went on an 80-yard drive that was very balanced. They ran the football well. Garrett Wilson was a factor.
Mm-hmm.
And Aaron Rodgers looked exactly like Aaron Rodgers, but the Jets' run defense was really sketchy in this game. Like
So bad.
Jordan Mason had 147 rushing yards
Yep.
and a touchdown. And it was like, okay, that those are numbers we expect out of Christian McCaffrey.
Mm-hmm.
The 49ers were able to run the football very effectively, and it ruined Aaron Rodgers' return to football. But I think Aaron Rodgers did make a couple big time throws. He also had no turnover worthy plays in the game. Um, I thought he looked really good. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
why does it always have to be this way? Like, why is it when Zach Wilson's your quarterback, the Jets play much better defensively? And then when you bring in a good quarterback, the defense doesn't know how to stop the run anymore. It's like, why can't it? I mean, it's like Super Bowl 50. Peyton Manning sucked, and we won it with our defense. And then we got
Mm-hmm.
blown out 43-8 when we had our best offense, but our defense sucked. It's like, can it
Mm-hmm.
ever just come together at the same time? And for the Jets, it's like, look, this window of Aaron Rodgers playing like this, it's closing very, very fast. So they need to figure out what they got to do because they got to fix it this year. This is not like a next year. We'll get
Mm-hmm.
to it. It's like, how can we make adjustments if you're the Jets and fix this issue right now? Because this was like uh, kind of embarrassing. I mean, the fact that
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers didn't even finish the game, they put the backup in
Tyrod
to
Taylor.
close the game out. They're like, we're not going to have him out there for no reason. Um, it's kind of sad. Like the I feel like the defense has to do better. They just have to.
Yeah, the 49ers were able to do whatever the fuck they wanted last night. I was streaming the game, and Brock Purdy, even under pressure, was able to find the open guy. Even when it looked like everybody was covered, one of the wide receivers, whether it be Juwan Jennings, whether it be George Kittle, whether it was Debo, Brandon Ayuk, one of these guys was able to get open no matter what. This defense for the Jets was a literal wet paper towel last night. Anything could get through them. And you're asking the question, like, what the fuck is up with this Jets defense? I can only imagine an actual Jets fan watching this last night and just being like, the Jets are cursed. That's a feeling that I have felt many times with the Bears, and the Jets felt that last night. Aaron Rodgers is back. He played the entire game. Our defense all of a sudden doesn't know how to cover, doesn't know how to stop the run, doesn't know how to tackle. They couldn't do anything.
Nothing.
Anything. And Aaron Rodgers getting it to his guy Alan Lazard twice for 2 touchdowns. Brees Hall opened the game with a touchdown, and pretty much everything between that Brees Hall opening touchdown to those 2 touchdowns to Alan Lazard, nothing. Like
He had
absolute
like
nothing.
2 drives. I
Yeah.
mean, it was like that. He didn't even get a chance to come onto the field. Like I think whereas the Jets had 49 plays to the Niners had 70.
And the time of possession was almost 39 minutes for the 49ers, 21 minutes for the Jets.
Yeah, you can
That should
never
tell you
win a
right there.
football game like that ever.
No, the time of possession was so lopsided. I remember the 49ers came out in the third quarter, scored a touchdown, and they ate up half that quarter. They ate up 7.5 minutes. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I can't believe that they were able to just go down this entire drive, eat up that much time, and Salah is just like doing nothing, zero adjustments. There was just no fight from this Jets defense whatsoever, and it was kind of sad to see, right? Because Salah's there on the sideline, like pissed off and like trying to get his guys to play, and he's got Aaron Rodgers in there, and it was nothing, man. It was like a big goose egg that they laid, and if the defense continues the way it does, you could pretty much wave bye bye to Salah. You could pretty much wave bye bye to Hatchet too, because you got Hatchet, you got Aaron Rodgers,
Hatchet.
and what's his name?
No, his name's Hatchet from now
Okay.
on.
What's his real name? I forget.
Hackett.
Hackett. Hatchet.
No,
I'm
I
gonna
like
call him
Hatchet.
Hatchet. Yeah, I'm calling him Hatchet. Looked like you've got your guy, the guy that wanted you to stay, and this is the offense that you come up with. Bad, just overall bad game for the Jets. Embarrassing, like you said. The 49ers were able to do anything, and Jordan Mason, who apparently there's this big kerfuffle, I'll call it, about when he was told was going to start, what happened to CMC. 49ers don't want to get fined because maybe they held his injury up until the very last minute. But Jordan Mason, incredible. Incredible. Deebo Samuel, incredible. Brock Purdy, just driving that bus. Just
Amazing,
driving
dude.
that bus to a win.
His accuracy too just goes so like unappreciated. Like there were so many like sticky coverage situations where he just placed the ball perfect spot and it moves the chains on third down and it's like a 4-yard pass and nobody's like no one's going to talk about that, but it's like if he doesn't place that ball perfectly, the ball gets batted down and the drive ends. It's like Brock Purdy is so accurate and it's cool to see him. Yeah, you can appreciate those type of throws the longer you watch
Absolutely.
football. But yeah, like I said, though, Aaron Rodgers, I think he plays next year. I know he always like takes a season to, think it over. But I think because of the injury last year, I think he plays this year and next year. So like that's it. So the Jets, they got to figure it out. They got to be like, okay, it's time for us to win our Super Bowl. It's now or never, honestly. Like, because I know they got Jordan Travis as the backup. They drafted out of Florida State, but like that, you're pushing the Super Bowl way down the road after Rodgers leaves. So it's like, you're not going to win by the time possession being what you just said. Like that can't happen. And that was your measuring stick game. That's the concerning part where it's like, that was your game to prove like you could win a Super Bowl this year. So the thing is I don't think that's who the Jets are. So week one's just kind of weird all around.
Yeah, it is. And look, there's going to be a lot of overreactions. Kyle and I have both had overreactions on this stream, and it's across the board. There's week one power rankings already with, I don't know, the Packers low, like in the late teens being ranked there, the Bears being above them, the Rams top 10 or, something ridiculous, right? So it's going to be overreactions. We need at least 3-4 weeks to really kind of ground ourselves this season and any season for NFL. But it's great to have football back, and it's great to be overreacting to week one games.
And I am leaving tomorrow morning. Guess where I'm going?
Going to Rutherford, East Rutherford.
I'm going to a different country. I'm going to Broncos country.
Let's ride.
I'm going to be wearing this shirt at the game. It's going to get signed by Bo Nix himself. I already set it up with him on X. I got to meet him outside the stadium an hour before the game. But dude, I'm so pumped up. I'm gonna try to interview fans. They're saying Russell Wilson's not going to play.
He's not going to play.
Yeah, they're saying, well, it's not for sure. So they're saying that they're going to practice as if Justin Fields is the starter, but that could be Mike Tomlin just blowing steam up our ass. You know what I mean?
Up the ass.
Right. So I like how you used your thumb to do that. Are you trying to tell us something? I knew you were a thumb guy. He's not a pinky guy. He's a thumb.
Been a
Look
thumb
at that
guy.
Beard. He's
been
a thumb
guy.
Let's ride.
Let's ride.
But yeah, dude, I'm super pumped up about it. But I think it's time for the motherfucking for the
motherfucking. Yeah.
All right, I thought you were gonna do it again.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Chives with Kyle. Today for my chives, I am going to be discussing this word that Bill wanted us to look up. Defenestrate.
Defenestrate. Have you looked up the definition, Kyle, or would you like me to tell you?
I have it. Throw
Nice.
something out of a window.
Someone.
She had made up her mind that the woman had been defenestrated, although the official verdict had been suicide. Ooh. So it's to throw someone out of a window. So it could not be suicide. It could be homicide.
It's homicide. It's homicide.
Defenestrate. Defenestrate.
DEF.
Defenestrate. Defenestrate.
So Bill, we have now looked up, and actually, I'm going to add this to my vocabulary. Defenestrate. Throw someone out of a window. Remove or dismiss someone from a position of power or authority. I like that. I like to defenestrate people.
Wow. I'm
Sounds
not
hot.
sure where to go from there, but I'm going to
Sounds
give you
hot.
your fantasy football week 1 waiver wire ads here. 5 to drop, 5 to buy low. Here we go. Number 1, of course, Jordan Mason. He went off last night for the 49ers, and the thinking is, what if Christian McCaffrey, dealing with this calf, if it comes back up or they put him on a pitch count, he could be a good addition, even if he's just on your bench. Bucky Irving, running back for Tampa Bay. Irving cut into Rachaad White's playing time. He ended up leading the Buccaneers in rushing yards as well. He played around 80% of Tampa Bay's offensive snaps last season, playing at least 70% of the team's offensive snaps in all but one game. The only exception was a blowout victory where he played 68% of the snaps. So in week 1, he played just under 70%. Bucky Irving, still on a lot of people's waiver wires. You can pick him up. He's getting a lot of playing time, and he's efficient. 6.9 yards per carry compared to Rachaad White's 2.1. And based on his snap share and his strong performance, Irving could see an increased percentage of early down snaps in the near future. But by then, it'll be too late. So get him now. Number 3, Brandon Cooks. Cooks was the top sleeper wide receiver all offseason after finishing last season as a consistent fantasy starter. He lost more competition for targets, and he's now clearly the second wide receiver in this offense. Number 4, Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely had I think a 20-something point game, almost a 30-something game, and it could have been like a 38-something game if it weren't for the toe. So Likely... the toe. He went off though. I mean, he seemed like the only person that Lamar could throw to during this game was him and Zay Flowers. So definitely want to pick him up. And then Justin Fields. Fields stepped in for Russell Wilson. He delivered an okay performance. He rushed 14 times, though, for 57 yards, ranking 3rd among quarterbacks in both categories this week. As a passer, he was more efficient than during much of his time with the Bears, though his limited passing volume kept his box score stats modest. There are reports that the Steelers are planning to start him again at the game I'm going to. I'll keep you up to date with that. 5 players to cut. Samaje Perine for the Chiefs. Perine signed with the Chiefs after being cut by the Broncos, and he only played like 1 snap in the Chiefs game. He might have played more, but he only had 1 catch. So I don't see him being a starter. Kendre Miller, running back for the Saints. He was a logical sleeper before training camp. But Dennis Allen made multiple comments over the last month about his inability to stay healthy, and it makes it seem unlikely he'll see much playing time even when he is healthy. He could presumably be 4th in line for carries behind Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams, and Taysom Hill, but it's fine to leave him in the injured reserve in leagues where there's an injured reserve spot. But the best case scenario for him to have any fantasy value this season would be a trade. And then Curtis Samuel for the Bills. He was the fourth wide receiver on the depth chart Sunday, playing 17 of a possible 61 snaps. The problem in the situation to me is Shakir is above him, Keon Coleman is above him, and there's also been plenty of praise for Matt Collins. So even if Samuel carves out a larger role, it's unlikely to be a full-time role, and even then the Bills will likely change who the top target is from 1 week to the next week. Number 4, Datavion Wicks. He was great on a per play basis for the Packers last season, but was unable to earn many more snaps than he did last season when the rest of the wide receivers were healthy. He played under 50% of Green Bay's offensive snaps in week 1, rotating Christian Watson. Watson tended to play in 11 personnel while Wicks played in 12 personnel. This left Wicks running a route on 19 of 43 pass plays. He didn't catch any of his 4 targets, dropping his only catchable target. Better games are ahead for Wicks, but it's impossible to trust a wide receiver who's not running a route on at least half of his pass plays. So he's just somebody that comes in a lot for run blocking. And last but not least, Cole Kmet. Dropped Cole Kmet. Kmet's utilization through the preseason was concerning, leading him to be a player to avoid. The Bears added Gerald Everett in free agency, and Everett has a long history with coordinator Shane Waldron. Those concerns from the preseason carried on to week 1 when Kmet played in 27 of a possible 56 snaps and ran a route on only 12 of 35 pass plays. 38 different tight ends ran more routes over the first 15 games of the week. While there's still a chance that his route rate increases based on years of history of Waldron as a coach, it will still be some kind of rotation. A rotation at tight end won't be good enough for him to have fantasy value with the talent the Bears have at wide receiver, even if the offense starts to play a lot better, which is kind of crazy because it really seemed like Cole Kmet in my head was going to be one of the top fantasy tight ends this year.
Yep.
But 5 players to buy low: Derrick Henry, Kyron Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr., Kyle Pitts, Dalton Kincaid, and then players to sell high: Rashad White, Brian Robinson Jr. I actually proposed a trade with Brian Thomas Jr. earlier today. Jaden Reed, Xavier Worthy. I proposed a trade with all 3 of those guys, and Anthony Richardson. Because I was like, maybe I could use, a really good fantasy week to try to get somebody like AJ Brown, because there was a guy in our league that had Jordan Love as their quarterback.
Yeah.
And I had Trevor Lawrence. So I was like, I'll give you Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas Jr. You get the quarterback wide receiver duo, and you give me AJ Brown.
Ooh, Kyle's already making moves. Week 1, Kyle making moves. Not even just pickups. I love it. Moves. All right. Bill wants us to come up with a punishment for him. But I will say the Bears losing week 2, I feel like that's going to happen. So I'm going to pick another week. I'll do randomly week 9, Bill. If they lose week 9, then I will do the next following week of no Bears gear. But against the Texans, that's
is that random?
One. Yeah, that's just a random week 9 game. So I'll do week 9, Bill.
Against the Cowboys?
Is it against the Cowboys?
It's against the Commanders.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I like that one. It depends. We'll see. We'll see who's doing better.
If it's against, okay. If you lose week 9, you have to record a video of you singing Fly Eagles Fly, and you have to send it to us, and we have to play it on the podcast.
Who, Bill?
Yeah.
I like that.
Fly, Eagles, fly on the road to victory.
No. Sorry, Bill.
If that's too much, I get it. I'm buying mayonnaise.
It might be. How about you have to, Bill? You have to buy a Eagles sticker and I don't know, take a picture with it on one of your Giants jerseys or a Giants shirt, stuck on it. So like it's not too crazy. It's not crazy
You
expensive.
rip it off right after.
Yeah, that's true. I think what you know what we're gonna workshop some ideas, Bill.
We're gonna marinate on this.
We're gonna marinate each other. And we will come back to you tomorrow for our predictions episode and let you know the punishment that we come up with. So, Kyle, you
Well,
good with that?
tomorrow I'll be flying too.
Or Kyle will be flying. You're right. So I will see. Then you'll have to give me your picks tonight, Kyle.
I'll send him a messenger.
Okay, send them on Messenger, and then Kyle and I will workshop some punishments. If we don't get it to you tomorrow, Bill, we will get it to you during Thursday Night Football live stream.
But we will punish you.
Yeah, we will absolutely punish you hard. But we will figure it out, Bill. With that being said, thank you guys so much to everybody who was here during the live stream. Specifically, all of the members of the Only Football fam. And here I am. I'm going to get the list of all of the members. Hat on Fire, Soldier, Dysphoria, Cashew Nuts, Nobody, 123, Lisa, Watch Me Squatch. Chuck Norris is a member, Kyle. Aaron Link, Nova, I Need a Percocet. Don't we all? American Boys, Sally Kamsi, Tyler Bird, Dragon B, T Roy, M Bung, Jinja twice. Actually, Jinja's actually subscribed or become a member twice. Tyler Fink, LOL Arc, Ripa, Lil E. We got Liam Wolf in here, KC, of course, the Hurricane Jinja again, Tyler, Brother T. We got Nash, Clue, and of course, our biggest supporter, Mr. Bill. I'm 56 years old, but sound like a 12-year-old. Oh, Richard. Thank you. Nice. The channel is growing. Thanks, Richard. Appreciate it. But thanks to everyone who was here today, whether you were on Twitch, on X, or on YouTube. Thank you guys so much. Please like the video if you haven't already. Please subscribe. Please become a member. Only $2.99 a month down there. We've already put up a couple of polls, members only polls. So look out for that. Look out for the emojis. Obviously, you guys get the shout out. So love it. Bill said, if I ever get on camera with you, you'll be like, what the fuck? Bill, it'll be a good time regardless. You can follow me on X at and now Rick. Kyle, where can they follow you on X?
You can follow me at NFL with Kyle.
Love it. NFL with Kyle. Go follow at Only Football Pod on X to get all the live streams on X. And go follow our YouTube pages at Yo, I'm Rick. I finally put up a Bears short. Kyle, where can they follow you on YouTube as well?
Kyle Kitzman.
Kyle Kitzman. Thank you guys so much for joining us on our recap of week 1. Football is back, baby. I'm going to do the predictions episode tomorrow. Then we'll come to you with the live stream. Kyle is going to be in Denver for the Pittsburgh Steelers Denver game. I'm sure he'll get some awesome content. Either way, he's going to kiss Bo Nix in the mouth. So look out for that. Kyle is surprised, but he's going to do it. Doesn't matter. Thank you guys so much. We will see you guys. I will see you guys tomorrow.
And I'm going to see Arcade Fire on Monday night.
Ooh, Arcade Fire.
In Red Rocks.
Ooh, I like that. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much. Kyle! Always a great time, brother.
Always a good time.